It was way back in 1973 that the story of the Honda Civic began. It started out as a small, compact, practical hatchback, but thereafter there have been 10 generations. And finally, after the Civic went back out of India, the 10th generation is back again, and here we are driving it today. Alright, so now we're in the Civic and we're doing what the Civic is meant for. We're driving the car. Now, if you talk about the performance, the Civic has always been known in India and globally as a sporty car. Well, in terms of engines, it comes with two options, a petrol and a diesel. Diesel is the first time that in India you're getting it with the Civic. Now, what you have here is a 1.6 litre ID Tech diesel turbocharged engine. Now, this is the same unit that powers the Honda CR-V, but the difference is that the Civic is a much lighter car, and that makes a great deal of difference. Now, if you talk about power, well, this gives a power output of around 121 PS and 300 Newton meters of torque, which is quite a healthy number. And if you talk about real world performance, well, unlike the CR-V, this engine in the Civic does a damn fine job. The Civic moves with the eagerness. It is not a car that will set the roads on fire. Well, it's not that powerful, but yes, it has got enough get and go to keep you entertained. You'll never have a problem in terms of overtaking, and you'll never feel short on power. And in terms of initial acceleration too, the engine performs well. Just about 1500 RPM is when the engine gets into its element. The turbochargers have enough to spool up, and from there on the acceleration is quite brisk and it's linear, which goes along well with the luxurious positioning of the vehicle. In terms of smoothness, well, this is a very refined unit, and although it's a diesel, it's just the initial start when you can hear the diesel clatter. Otherwise, if you're just cruising along like we are right now, there is hardly any sound that filters into the cabin. Apart from that, in terms of NVH, that is noise, vibration and harshness, Honda has done a damn good job. There's been a lot of improvements if you talk if you compare it to the older model, and that results in a very quiet and a very refined cabin. What you get in terms of gearbox, well, with the diesel you just have a manual option, so you get a 6-speed manual, and with the petrol, that is a 1.8 litre engine with 141 PS of power and 117.4 Newton meters of torque. Therein you get a CVT gearbox. Now, it is a bit of a downer. Some of you might think that not having a manual option in the petrol is a bit of a downer, but Honda says that their market research has revealed that around 90% buyers in this segment prefer to have an automatic transmission with a petrol vehicle. So as far as the market is concerned, I think they have it pretty much well covered. Well, in terms of handling, the Civic is supposed to be somewhere between a sporty and a luxurious car, and it does deliver that experience quite well. We have been driving the car up and down Nandi Hills, and around the corners she just goes around comfortably. Even with the tires squealing, the Civic maintains its composure. There is little body roll. The steering again weighs up nicely. There is a decent amount of feedback, although not much, but the mechanical grip is good. And of course, then there's the fun factor that's still there in the new Civic, like you would have expected if you have experienced the old Civic. If you talk about bad roads, speed breakers, potholes, expansion joints on flyovers, all of it is dealt with in a great manner. The cabin remains largely insulated, and if you're someone who's looking even to be chauffeur driven, the ride quality is good, and you can consider this car for that experience as well. What you get in terms of active safety is you get traction control with VSA, which is a vehicle stability assist, and you also have ABS with EBD. You've got 6 airbags all around. Apart from that, you've got hill start assist, you've got ISOFIX mounts on the rear seats. Also add to it the fact that in the ASEAN NCAP, this car scored a 5-star rating. So what you have is a perfectly safe car. So if I have to sum up the overall driving experience of the Civic, well, the biggest change if you compare it to the last one that was available in India is that it has evolved as a more comfortable and a luxurious car. However, the good thing is that for you all driving enthusiasts out there, the Civic is still fun to drive. Now talking about the styling of the new Civic, well, the first feeling you would get on seeing this car is it's absolutely wow. It is a sexy car to look at, and it has a sharp and an edgy design. Now if you talk about the front has got the family signature thick chrome slat grille, which you would also find on the Accord and even the smaller Amaze. On the sides you've got really sleek looking LED headlamps with DRLs, and the bumper too has got a lot of sharp edges around it, which complements the sporty image of the Civic. Moving to the side, you can see the impressive alloy wheels. These are 17-inch units with low profile rubber, so that accentuates the dynamic look of the car. There is a strong shoulder line as well, and the highlight of the side profile is the sloping roof. Right after the B-pillar, the roof line slopes all the way back till the tail lamp, and this gives the Civic a very coupe-ish profile, and that of course adds to its sporty value. The rear is my personal favorite. You've got these really striking looking sharp tail lamps in the shape of a C. C of course stands for Civic, and these look especially good in the dark. So if you add all of this, what you get is a really sleek looking car which exudes dynamism in its character, and the best thing is that it's not a polarizing design, so most people will end up loving it. Now once you step inside the cabin of the new Civic, well, it's all impressive from there on. It's got a great looking, premium looking dashboard. It's got a leather finish here. Again, the material used here is very high class, so in terms of touch and feel also, it looks very premium. Again, the top part of the dashboard, it's a soft touch leather part, again adds to the premium value. Now in terms of features, the Civic is very well loaded. If you talk about the infotainment system, what you get is a 7-inch color touchscreen here. Now it comes loaded with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. In terms of the touch response to the system, I wouldn't say it's the best. There is a bit of a lag, but apart from that, visibility even under direct sunlight is quite nice. The interface is simple, it's easy to use. The sound quality from the speakers is quite impressive, so if you are an audiophile, it is good enough to keep you entertained for a long time. If you talk about the steering wheel, well, it's a very premium looking steering wheel, feels good to hold. The tactile, the material quality again is very nice. It's got your cruise control and your audio and telephone controls on the steering. The storage space, there is a lot of it, and all of these spaces have been integrated very smartly. You can easily place your smartphone, your wallet here. Apart from that, you also have a place here, so there's a lot of space to put in all of your stuff. You also get an HDMI output and a 1.5 ampere USB output for fast charging your mobile phones. If you talk about the center console, again you get an adjustable armrest. You can flip it open. You also have a USB point here, and there's a lot of space in it to place in more than a couple of water bottles. You can easily place in a lot of other stuff, and because this is designed in a way that it's quite up, you can easily rest your hand here. You have a soft touch material here, so you can still place here for extended drives. You get that feeling of comfort. The instrument cluster again is very impressive. It's a combination of analog display, but the display is completely digital, and it's got very good color scheme to it, so it is pleasing to look at. And especially the fuel gauge, again it's got a very unique design and looks very premium and is quite eye-catching. Now a lot of consumers in this segment will end up buying it for a chauffeur-driven usage. Now in terms of that aspect, the Civic again impresses a lot. It is a long car and there is absolutely no lack of space whatsoever. Lot of legroom. I'm 5 feet 8 inches for reference. The driver's seat is adjusted to my driving preference, and you can see I have a lot of space. In terms of headroom, well, a lot of people might think that because of the sloping coupe roofline, the headroom might be compromised, but that is not the case. The seat has been smartly integrated. It sits low, so what you get is decent amount of headroom. And while you might think that this is just a bit of it, I have seen even someone as tall as 6 feet 2 inches sitting in this seat and still had about a couple of inches to spare in terms of headroom. In terms of space, again, lot of it. You can easily plonk in 1 liter bottles here, and you will still be left with space for more. You also get AC vents at the rear for faster cooling, and of course there's a leather wrapped armrest here with 2 cup holders. So in terms of the rear seat experience, the Civic is a very impressive car, and it can keep your family comfortable over long drives, and if you prefer to be driven by a driver, in that case too, the Civic checks all the right boxes. If you talk about the seat quality, well, the seat itself is quite nice. There is the lot of support. If you talk about the backrest angle, well, again, that is quite nice. So on long drives, it's going to be very comfortable. The cushioning is good. However, the seat is good for 2 people only, because if you have a third passenger sitting here, well, there's a hump in the seat, and apart from that, the transmission tunnel is quite high, and it can be a bit inconvenient if it's being here for a long time. But for 2 people, absolutely no problems at all. The front seats too are quite good, so even when you're pushing the car hard, there's a lot of side support, so the seats hold you firmly in the place. And of course, adding more to the feeling of space is the sunroof. So now it's time to answer the big one, whether you should buy the new Civic or a compact SUV. And the answer to that, in my opinion, is that go for the Civic, unless you are someone who wants to take out your SUV for off-roading. The Civic does everything else just fine. It is fun to drive, it's got good features, and it is luxurious, it is comfortable, and the best part is, it really looks sexy. So with all the details discussed about the new Civic, now what remains to be answered is the price. Well, we don't have the prices because the launch is scheduled for the first week of March. Now that is when we'll get to know about the prices. However, the car is feature loaded, and if Honda can price it competitively, that is somewhere around the 18 lakh mark, there's a good chance that in a segment that's pretty much dead, the Civic might just be able to infuse some life back again.